I am on the NOFRAC Provincial Steering Committee, and I also work with a group called the Environmental Health Association of Nova Scotia. I'd rather sit, but I'll talk louder. I have that capacity. So ever since this came up, I've tried to look at the health impacts. What does this mean for health? And initially, there was almost no one looking at that. And now it's actually become one of the hot topics about shale gas. It's probably going to be one of the decisive top issues in terms of decision making. Initially, people thought that when we were talking about health, we were just talking about water contamination. And that really couldn't be farther from the truth. While water contamination is definitely a danger immediately and in the future, health impacts of fracking relate to a wide number of things. There are, especially if we look at air emissions, there are toxic chemicals used and emitted at every stage of the shale gas operations, from drilling to fracking, compressor stations which concentrate the gas, diesel trucks. Every stage has health risks, and that's been documented. The health risks are probably the most documented in scientific literature now. There's starting to be a number of peer-reviewed studies. And the whole thing is huge. So what I'm taking on in my paper is I'm looking at 4 points. One is, what's the consensus now in the literature that's being written? And the consensus is that there's a number of points. One is that there are toxins used and emitted from shale gas production at all stages. The second is that there are routes of exposure, that people can be exposed to these toxins. They can be exposed from breathing the air, from drinking water, from taking baths if your water is contaminated. There will be toxins in the water, or showers which emit the heat, will emit even more air emissions. From diesel truck fuels, a wide range of exposures, routes of exposure have been shown. The second point is that the evidence is incomplete and that there needs to be more study. The third point that's held in common in virtually every study is that there are especially risks to what are called vulnerable populations. Vulnerable populations would be children. Children don't process toxins the same way as adults do. Their sort of immune systems are less developed, and their body weight for pound, they breathe more and eat more per pound. So they're actually taking in more toxins and their systems are less able to process them. Other vulnerable populations are elderly people, people who are already ill, and in another sense, people who are low income, because if what you need is an air filter system or a water filter system and you don't have the money to pay for it, then in fact you're going to have more of your share of impact from what you're exposed to. And the fourth point that I think is pretty well held in common in virtually everything I've read is the need to slow down. The fact that we don't know, there's a lot we don't know, and the need to slow down before allowing more fracking to take place. So just to give you just a little example of how broad the health impacts could be, there's a community health study done in Pennsylvania, and there's been a number of studies of air emissions that looked at what's in the air and what do we know about those toxins, and what's the increased risk. And those studies have found increased cancer risks, increased risks of birth defects, increased risks of respiratory problems, heart and stroke, a whole range of things. But this study was done, it's an on-the-ground study, it's a community-based study where they interviewed people, and they found huge numbers of health impacts that were actually linked to chemicals that are known to be emitted. And they went from everything from increased fatigue, nasal irritation, throat irritation, sinus problems, burning eyes, shortness of breath, joint pain, feeling weak and tired, severe headaches, sleep disturbances, goes on and on, depression, memory problems, severe anxiety, dizziness, all for very high numbers, from between 62% of people living in the area, but up to 1 kilometer from the well, to 34%, so very high numbers. So what I'm taking on in my submission, in addition to sort of saying what's the consensus in the literature, is how should this be approached? And making several arguments. One is we have to look at all the impacts. We can't just isolate hydraulic fracturing in its very small moment of time. We have to look at everything that hydraulic fracturing opens up. So there's, in Maryland, what they're using as their screen, is kind of their filter, is they're going to focus on all those exposures and conditions that either would not occur or would be increased, would not occur in the absence of hydraulic fracturing or would be increased by hydraulic fracturing. So all of the things like diesel trucks and pipelines and compressor stations, not just the frac itself. And that's a really key point in terms of what industry argues. We have to look at short, medium, and long-term impacts, is my argument. We have to look at the cumulative impacts, not just well by well, what's being set out, but people are breathing the air that's coming out of sometimes up to 30 wells within a mile of their houses. So you've got to look at, add those together. And we have to look at impacts of having heavy industry in residential and agricultural areas. Because in addition to some of these obvious physical health stressors, there's what's called social stressors. What happens when your community changes drastically overnight from a clean air, slow-paced, friendly community to one that's under pressure. So Wendy touched on some of those. So that's how I'm trying to approach this issue. And just, do I have it? Okay. Physicians, one of the things I've noticed is that physicians are taking a different starting point than a number of other scientists. And physicians are arguing first do no harm. So they're prepared to take a stand, many physicians, before scientists who tend to wait till there's a lot of proof. So the stance of physicians has been often very progressive. They say first do no harm, don't unleash any more fracking until we have a much better sense of what the problems are, because how can you regulate it when you don't even know what the problems are? How can you protect? You can regulate, but will those regulations be protected?